Some monsters come from folklore. Some monsters come from our own backyards. But in 1973, something inexplicable walked into the lives of the people of Enfield, Illinois. It left behind footprints and fear. This is the true story of the Enfield Monster. The year, 1973. The place, Enfield, Illinois, a small farming community of 2,000 residents, mostly peaceful. But on April 25th, everything changed. It began like any other day for Henry McDaniel. The sun shone through the kitchen window. Birds tweeted outside. At 6:30 p.m., though, a sound broke the calm. Someone knocked loudly on his front door. So he got up from his chair, walked over, and opened it. But there wasn't a person standing on his welcome mat. Instead, he found himself face to face with something or someone else. What exactly that was, he couldn't quite say. He later told police it had 3 legs, 2 little short arms, and pink eyes as big as flashlights. Before he could react, whatever it was leaped into the darkness and disappeared. All that remained was a stunned silence and the sound of crickets. Henry shook off the shock, thinking maybe he'd imagined the whole thing. Maybe exhaustion had tricked his eyes. But when he looked down, he saw scratches along his doorframe and on the ground below, muddy prints. That's when things got weird. The tracks, which looked like those of a dog, were too wide and too deep for any pet in the area. Besides, locals knew each other. They'd seen each other's dogs. No one had a dog that could make these tracks. No one had a dog with pink glowing eyes. When news spread about what Henry had seen, more residents came forward with stories of their own. One resident told how she heard heavy footsteps near her house, pacing back and forth. She looked out the window, but saw nothing. Another spoke of a strange creature skulking in the bushes across the street from him, watching the children play. Then it disappeared. It seemed to be everywhere and nowhere, leaving only questions and unease. But the biggest mystery remained. Where did it come from, and what was it? Was it an alien creature? A government experiment? An escaped circus animal? Or was this just a case of mass hysteria? As theories swirled, Enfield became ground zero for UFO researchers, cryptozoologists, and reporters eager for a scoop. Their cameras and notebooks descended on the town, making Enfield residents feel like stars of a horror movie. But to the townspeople, this was no movie. This was their lives. The Enfield Monster had become a permanent fixture in their daily lives. Doors were locked, windows shuttered, and guns were bought. Fear hung heavy in the air, thicker than the corn that surrounded the town. So who was the Enfield Monster? Despite countless theories, no one knows for sure. What we do know are the facts. On April 25, 1973, a man named Henry McDaniel opened his front door to find a 3-legged creature with pink eyes. Again, this is his account. There are no pictures or videos to back this up. The creature may have been 3-legged, but when police investigated, they only found 2-legged prints. But they also found scratches on Mr. McDaniel's doorframe, and his description of the monster was very detailed, so they took his story seriously. And that same day, April 25th, another boy saw a similar beast while walking home from school. He described seeing something large moving between the trees at high speed, moving strangely, like it was missing a leg. The boy reportedly did not see its face. It didn't attack him or speak to him. It just ran past him. After that, sightings continued. Residents reported seeing the creature prowling the streets, always at dusk, always watching. Some said they saw its eyes glowing in the dark, while others heard its heavy footsteps echoing through the trees. They called it the Enfield Monster, although no one actually saw the creature up close enough to confirm what it looked like. Most accounts describe it as being about 6 to 7 feet tall, covered in hair. Some witnesses reported seeing red or orange hair, while others claimed it was more brown or black. The majority of witnesses agreed that the monster had 3 legs and moved with an unnatural gait, sometimes hopping or skipping in ways that defy logic. Despite numerous eyewitness accounts, the police were unable to track down the beast. Despite many residents arming themselves, no one ever saw the creature during the day, and when police searched for it, they found no trace. However, they did find a set of mysterious footprints. These footprints were six-toed tracks, similar to those of a dog, but far too wide and too deep for any canine in the area. And that wasn't the only physical evidence they found. They also discovered scratches on Mr. McDaniel's doorframe. Despite the seemingly solid evidence, authorities downplayed the reports of the Enfield Monster, calling it nothing more than a wild imagination. Deputy Greg Garrett, who investigated the case, noted the six-toed prints, stating that they were the strangest tracks he'd ever seen. However, he admitted that they offered few clues to the monster's identity. Over the next 2 weeks, the monster sightings tapered off, leaving residents to wonder if the beast had moved on, or perhaps retreated to wherever it came from. On May 10th, Mr. McDaniel spotted the creature again. This time it stood in the distance watching him, but it turned its glowing eyes toward him and bounded away at impossible speed. It was gone before he could react. After this sighting, the monster never showed itself again, leaving the people of Enfield with more questions than answers. What was the monster? Where did it come from? And why did it choose Enfield as its hunting ground? As time passed, the wounds healed, but the legend endured. Some residents believed the creature could cloak itself, becoming invisible to anyone except those it chose to reveal itself to. Others were convinced it returned to its own dimension, waiting to return. But those who witnessed the Enfield Monster never forgot what they saw. And as the years passed, their memories remained vivid. Then there's Henry McDaniel. He stood firm until his death, claiming that what he saw was real and not of this world. He said, "I know what I saw, and it wasn't human." After its last sighting in 1973, the Enfield Monster seemingly vanished. The media circus ended as abruptly as it began, and life in Enfield slowly returned to normal. But every now and then, a loud crash in the night or the glimpse of glowing eyes in the trees reminds the locals that some mysteries remain unsolved, and some fears never fade. Today, Enfield still stands quiet and peaceful, but some nights the serenity is shattered by odd noises and fleeting glimpses of something strange. Some say the Enfield Monster is still out there, watching, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal itself again. In the decades since the Enfield Monster terrorized the town, many have tried to solve the mystery. Some believe it was an alien creature, while others think it was a wild animal, perhaps a bear or a large cat. There are even theories that it was a government experiment gone awry, or a figment of the townspeople's imagination. But despite the many theories, the truth remains elusive. The strange thing about the Enfield Monster is that it was seen by so many people, each giving a consistent description of the creature. It was large, hairy, and three-legged, with glowing eyes and a strange gait. And while there are many animals that could match some of these descriptions, there is nothing that fits all of them. Perhaps the most intriguing piece of evidence in the case is the footprints found near Mr. McDaniel's house. These tracks were unlike any known animal in the area and were consistent with the description given by the witnesses. Unfortunately, the tracks were never properly preserved and no scientific analysis was ever done, leaving us with more questions than answers. The Enfield Monster remains an enduring legend in cryptozoology circles. It is often cited as an example of a real animal that has defied conventional classification. Some believe the monster is a Bigfoot or Sasquatch, while others think it is a member of the canine family, such as a hybrid wolf-dog creature. But without concrete evidence, these theories remain just that, theories. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Enfield Monster case is the psychological impact it had on the townspeople. In the days following the first sighting, fear gripped the community. Residents armed themselves and avoided going out at night. The local newspaper even ran a front-page story with the headline, "Monster Stalks Enfield." This fear was understandable, given the creature's size and strength. Witnesses described it as being around 6 to 7 feet tall and covered in hair. It was also seen moving with great speed and agility, which made it even more terrifying. As the sightings continued, the fear grew. Some residents began to doubt their own sanity. They started to question whether they were really seeing a monster or if they were all just making things up. The psychological toll on the community was immense. The Enfield Monster case is one of those mysteries that will likely never be solved. The lack of physical evidence and the reliance on eyewitness accounts leaves too much room for doubt. However, the impact it had on the people of Enfield should not be forgotten. It was a time when a community was torn apart by fear and uncertainty. It was a time when the unknown became all too real. Some say the Enfield Monster is still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for its next victim. Others say it is nothing more than a figment of our collective imagination. But one thing is for sure, the legend of the Enfield Monster will live on. So if you're ever in Enfield, Illinois, be careful. You never know what might be watching you from the trees. Do you believe in monsters? Have you ever seen one? Let me know in the comments. And remember, some monsters aren't from our nightmares. They're from our front yards.